So now it's time for us to give our predictions on the semifinals of the 2023-2024 Champions League. And I'm going to be fully honest with you. I don't know how to predict these. Like my heart tells me to go one way, my head tells me to go another way, and I just don't know which way to go. Because I'm going to be honest. First of all, I want to start this video off by saying I really thought Barcelona would be in the semifinals. I thought Barcelona would go very far. I also thought PSG would go very far. I also thought that as well. Because I thought it was a time for Mbappe to really show himself. So there's a few things I want to touch on. It's going to get bright for a second. Like I told y'all, I got a little bright. A few things I want to touch on. Let's start with PSG. This is the furthest they've been, I want to say, since 2020. Like around when they made that final where the stadiums were empty. They are far. And you now have an Mbappe that is extremely motivated because right now, lads, when you sit down and you think about the Ballon d'Or conversation, there is no front runner for this thing. There is no, oh my goodness, it's him and that's it. Like you would say Jude Bellingham, if Real Madrid reaches the final, probably Jude Bellingham could take it. If PSG reach the final and win the final, then for sure that Mbappe would take it. You could argue a player almost from all these teams. Even when you look at Bayern, I know I'm not putting him in the Ballon d'Or conversation, but I think, I could be wrong, but I think Harry Kane just put up like his record best goal scores for the year. I could be wrong. I might be wrong, but I think I saw Fob tweet that. But regardless, you have this PSG that is extremely motivated. A young team that just moved away from Neymar and Messi, Mbappe trying to show himself to the world. The whole time a lot of people were saying that Mbappe was the problem with Neymar, Messi. And it seems that if he can make the final, all of that kind of goes away. All of that kind of disappears because now you start going like, wait, was he ever the problem? So there's that. And then you look at Real Madrid, and that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with Real Madrid and Bayern, all right? Because that's the first game. It happens on April 30th, all right? So you got Bayern versus Real Madrid. First thing that I want to say to y'all, it's always Real Madrid, but I'm going to be completely unbiased when I speak here. You have a team, Bayern, that just got knocked off for their like massive run of winning the Bundesliga and what they've been doing and what they've been achieving by a great Bayer Leverkusen team. And then on the other hand, you have this Real Madrid team that is winning games in La Liga with a second team. I'm not trolling. They fielded against Real Sociedad. They started Modric. They started AG. They start a bunch of players that don't start consistently. And it's almost like they went into Real Sociedad with a second team, right? Into Real Sociedad, into their stadium with a second team. By the way, they win the game 1-0. Some people are saying Real Sociedad deserved to win the game. Doesn't matter. Jose Lu played. I think Diaz came in. AG played. Just a lot of a different Eder Militao getting a start after a very, very, very long time with injury, kind of getting put back into the team and kind of getting match time. So a very, very scary Real Madrid because they go up against Real Sociedad with a backup team almost, no Vinny and stuff like that, and they win 1-0. That's very impressive as Real Sociedad is a pretty, pretty good team. So you have two scenarios here, right? You have Bayern that has had a good year, but nowhere near the year that Bayern usually has. And then you have Real Madrid that's having a phenomenal year where it looks like La Liga's locked up. They've played well against Barcelona every time they play them. They're playing backup teams against towards the back end. They're pretty much giving players minutes in games in La Liga right now, so they're fully focused in the Champions League. It seems that way. And when you have a Real Madrid that can fully focus on the Champions League, that's scary. So I think this is going to be a real close game, the first one, lads, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's going to be extremely, extremely close. It is in Germany, and I think that it is going to end 3-2. 3-2 to Real Madrid. I think Harry Kane scores 2. But I don't think they can stop Rodrigo. I think Rodrigo gets 2 and Vinny gets 1. And I think they're going to win this one 3-2. 3-2 in Germany with everything to go back to Spain and finish it off. That's where I'm going to go with it. And then I think if we're doing both of it, I think that Real Madrid win 3-2 in Germany, and then they'll get back to Spain, where they'll tie maybe 2-2, maybe something like a 2-2, and they'll go through an aggregate because they took care of business in Germany. That's what I'm going to go with. I don't know if I'm wrong here, but that's what I'm going to go with. So end up being 5-4 on aggregate to Real Madrid, and they advance to the final. All right. The next game is a very, very, very interesting game because you have PSG versus Dortmund. And I know I am going to get a lot of stick for what I'm about to say here. I'm going to get a lot of stick for what I'm going to say, like a ton of stick. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it, and I'm going to say it right away so maybe people don't get so mad at me. I don't think PSG is going to advance to the final. I think PSG is going to have the easiest time going to the final. I think PSG is going to easily get by Dortmund. That is no disrespect to Dortmund, but I just think right now when you have potentially the best player in the world on your team, a player that is extremely rapid, his finishing is out of this world, Dembele's playing good, I just don't see a team like this being stopped. Not until the final. So if I had to tell you the honest truth, I think PSG is going to win this game, and I think they are going to beat Dortmund easily. I think maybe 3-1 in the first game. Where's the first game played at? Is the first game in France or is the first game in Germany? The first game is in Germany, so I think this game is going to be much closer. I think this game will maybe be like maybe a 2-2, right? And then I think in France, I think that they'll beat them like 3-1 or maybe even 4-1. That's my prediction. Again, my predictions are not always good. I've predicted a lot of good things, but I've also predicted a lot of dumb things, okay? In my opinion, though, I just think that when you have Mbappe at the level that he's at, when you have Dembele, who has a lot to prove, right? He stayed healthy. He's trying to prove that he's one of the better players out there. He's trying to prove he made the right decision by leaving Barca. You have Vitinho, the Portuguese kid who's playing incredibly good. You got amazing players all around the field. The defense and Donnarumma a little bit sus, in my opinion. But going forward, you have a very, very strong team, and I think that Dortmund won't be able to deal with the attack that Mbappe and Dembele are going to present. So with that being said, I see PSG going to the final, and the final being PSG versus Real Madrid. Again, to a lot of people, they're like, that's a fairy tale. Like, there's no way that's happening. But I think that's probably the most likely scenario to happen now. Like, I don't know what the odds are, but I would say PSG versus Real Madrid are very, very likely odds, which is crazy because I never thought that we would get to this point, especially with Mbappe's contract being up in the air. But either way, this is where we are, and this is what it can be. And the truth is, lads, I trust Luis Enrique a lot. I thought Luis Enrique was an incredible hire for PSG. I think Spanish managers right now really, really have a lock on football. If you look around, you see what like Aston Villa's doing with Emery. You see Guardiola. You see Xavi's doing a pretty okay job at Barcelona for what he's under. But even taking him out of it, you see what Luis Enrique's doing. Just Spanish managers right now, I think, are doing a very, very, very good job. Xabi Alonso, also Spanish, doing an amazing job at Bayer Leverkusen. So I just think the Spanish manager way it works right now. It works very, very good. The problem is if it is PSG versus Madrid in the final, which we'll talk about that if that does happen, now you have Spanish manager, but you have Ancelotti that knows all managers very well. So it's just one of those breakdowns where it's crazy. But right now, if I had to put my house on it, I would say Real Madrid knocks out Bayern in a close game. And I think PSG will get by Dortmund pretty easily, unfortunately for Dortmund, because they're an incredible team. But I think PSG, I just think the confidence got to be booming in that locker room right now. So they have a huge chance at making a final, and this might be the year. And lads, remember that Mbappe steps up on the biggest stages. We've seen it. World Cups, we see what he does on the biggest stages. He's usually there. So I would imagine he's going to be there. Anyways, those are my predictions. Let me know down below what you guys think, what's going to happen. But we got some good games coming up, man. I can't wait. They're going to be absolutely phenomenal, and I can't wait to be there for them, man. So let's see what happens.